What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at all of the executive orders that Joe Biden has signed during his first week, which, we're only a week into his presidency and he's already, well, I will let the opening line of this particular article say it for me. Link will be in the description, by the way. A week into his presidency, President Joe Biden has signed over 30 executive orders ranging from reversing Trump-era policy to adjusting the nation's response to the ongoing pandemic. The orders ranged in topic from dealing with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic to beginning the process for what he hopes will be immigration reform. Many take direct aim at the decisions of former President Donald Trump, as they should. Yes, that is the cat in the corner of the frame, just there, just living her best life. Biden also spoke with foreign leaders like Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the UK, to reinstate a relationship between the two countries and to speak on shared challenges like tackling climate change and losing my article. Where did that just go? Let the thing reload. Tackling climate change and the COVID-19 crisis. Those are the things that they have in common. Oh wait, here are some of the actions Biden took during his first week as President of the United States. So, Biden signed a series of executive orders on Wednesday to combat climate change. The three orders focus on an array of climate and environmental justice related measures, such as focusing on infrastructure needs and prioritizing scientific research. The orders elevate climate change as a national security concern and paves the way for the re-establishment of the President's Council of Advisors of Science and Technology. Last week, Biden also signed an order to halt construction of the Keystone XL pipeline, which was set to pass through the Fort Peck Reservation in Montana and the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota. The administration also suspended new drilling permits on federal land and water for 60 days. So at least for the next 2 months, at least, there won't be any drilling on federal land or in federal waters, allowing those particular places to start to heal from the process of being drilled on. Which is good. So not only, so these pipelines are a big thing, and I've seen it coming up quite a bit, mainly because one of the people I follow on TikTok is very politically minded. But basically, from what I understand, is this pipeline offered some jobs, and that was the main reason why Republicans wanted it, because it's like, oh yeah, cool, jobs for the working class, and it was only going to be like 1,000 jobs for a year, and then after that it was going to drop down drastically to somewhere between 35 and 50 jobs that were going to be made permanent. And this TikToker, at least, has proposed that the funding for this pipeline instead goes into retraining those same workers to work in renewable energy, so that it's still within like the energy industry, but it has a much smaller environmental impact, still offers all these same jobs, but a vast majority of them instead become permanent, because they're no longer relying on a finite source like oil. They can now take on solar energy or wind energy or hydroelectric, tidal energy, geothermal energy. Like there's a whole bunch of different renewable energies that they could go into. Plus, it's no longer going to destroy native land, which I would think is heritage listed, so they should never have been able to go straight through those reservations, but they were. So there's a little bit of racial equality thrown in there for good measure. On his first day in office, Biden had also had the United States rejoin the Paris Agreement, which is an international treaty focused on climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, and other environment-related policy, reversing Trump's decision to pull the US out of the agreement in 2017. And from what we know of Trump, that's probably the first time he's pulled out of anything. Republicans denounced Biden's policies, saying his climate policies are too expansive and can eliminate oil and gas jobs, which, again, is that such a bad thing? Leaving these things that are essentially helping keep the balance of their ecosystem in the ground where they're keeping the balance of the ecosystem. Because if you take all of the oil out and there's nothing sort of occupying that space, all of the ground above that could essentially sink into it, which would just cause untold amounts of property damage. And as I said, if we retrain those same people to work in renewable energy, like yeah, isn't that kind of the point? Isn't that what we want to do? We want to move towards renewable energy, have those same people working currently in oil and gas get retrained and moved over into renewable energy sources where those jobs are going to be more stable, because it's not going to be well, you're working here until this refinery runs dry. Do you want to go out? I will let you out. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back to finish. There you are, my darling. Okay. Next is the economy. On Monday, Biden launched a $700 billion Buy American campaign, which encouraged the federal government to buy more American-made products. This effort, which the president states will help American businesses compete in strategic industries and help American workers thrive, also calls on the director of the Office of Management and Budget to establish a Made in America office and appoint a Made in America director who will head that office, so creating more jobs within the government. Again, more jobs. The administration argues that this effort will further stimulate the US economy, which has struggled during the pandemic. The unemployment rate in the US was 6.7 in December, and employers cut about 140,000 jobs, according to the Department of Labor. Last week, Biden also laid out the foundation to raise minimum wage to $15 and restored collective bargaining power and worker protections for federal workers. It's the policy of the United States to protect, empower, and rebuild the career federal workforce. The federal government should serve as a model employer, the executive order states. Another executive order calls on federal agencies and departments to prioritize actions that provide the greatest relief to individuals, families, and small businesses, and to state, local, tribal, and territorial governments. Biden specifically asks federal agencies to improve accessibility or reduce unnecessary barriers to programs that can help struggling Americans. During his first day on the job, the president also signed an executive order to extend the nationwide moratorium on evictions and foreclosures until March 31st. So anyone that lost their job because of COVID, that has been struggling to therefore pay their rent make ends meet, now doesn't have to worry about being evicted or have any of their properties go through a foreclosure, at least until the end of March. So it gives them some time to try and get back on their feet, which is only a good thing. And like even in a capitalist society, this is a kind of a rare thing to see. So it's a good thing to see, but it is kind of a rare thing to see. Additionally, Biden extended the pause on student federal loan payments and interest up to September 30. So all those people studying at home, and you know, because of COVID and how long postage and stuff's taken, maybe their books didn't come in. They now don't have to worry so much. They've got a bit more time to sort of catch themselves back up before their student loan payments and stuff will have to be made again. On immigration, shortly after his victory, the president promised Americans he would work to reverse the Trump administration's strict policies on immigration. These ones are all the fun ones. He issued several immigration-related executive orders on day one. He reinstated the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which was an Obama-era program that shielded undocumented immigrants who arrived in the US as children from deportation. So these would have been children that came in with their parents as undocumented citizens, undocumented immigrants, and then, you know, grew up in America. So, you know, and I believe he also, actually that's the next paragraph. Trump reversed the program in 2017, sending it through layers of litigation. Biden also sent his immigration reform plan to Congress, which outlines a path to permanent residence and citizens for DACA beneficiaries. So not only will they be protected from deportation, but people under the program are now also given a path to become a permanent resident or citizen of the US, so that they are no longer undocumented immigrants, but fully documented citizens, taking the ill out of their illegal status, technically speaking. The president's proposal was met with clear opposition from several GOP members who, look, we all know that they're Republican. We don't need to name names. They're all Republican. The Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called the plan a massive proposal for blanket amnesty that will gut enforcement of American laws while creating huge new incentives for people to rush here illegally at the same time. And of course the Republicans would want that. Putting more people in the workforce obviously can't possibly be a good idea, despite the fact that it would boost their economy, and that would in turn mean that there's more money flowing around, more money that they can then tax. And since the government taxes it and then the government pays them to do their jobs, it means just potentially more money going into their pockets. But you can't possibly have that. There's no way to logic around it, surely. Undocumented immigrants will also now be counted as part of the US Census, which takes place every 10 years, per another executive order. Biden also revoked an executive order issued by Trump in 2017 that cracked down on communities shielding undocumented immigrants from deportation. Which, I don't know how that even works. How do you deport someone born and raised in that country back to their own country? Like, or do they just get deported to the same country that the undocumented immigrants they're protecting are? Like, is that how it works? It's like, oh yeah, no, you're shielding this Mexican family, so you're all going back to Mexico? I don't understand. Either way, it definitely seems like 2017 Donald Trump is being just destroyed in all of these executive orders. I haven't seen any other year pop up yet. So that was maybe the one year where Trump actually decided to do some presidential stuff instead of just whinging like a child on Twitter. Immigrants have helped strengthen America's families, communities, businesses, and workforce, an economy infusing the United States with creativity, energy, and ingenuity, the president wrote in the executive order, that president being Biden, and that's in the one that, that I just mentioned before. In addition to targeting policies related to undocumented immigrants, Biden also reversed Trump's policy that forbid refugees and residents from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from entering the US. The order also states that the Secretary of State must resume visa processing within the next 45 days. So, yeah, that's cool too, because, yeah, the executive order that he reversed there was definitely founded on Islamophobia, which is, we're not here for that. And yes, there are extremists in that religion. There's extremists in all religions, whether they are seen as, good or bad is entirely a matter of perspective. But it doesn't mean that the majority, which generally sits in the middle, it doesn't mean that that's what they're like. Yeah. So it's a good thing that they're being allowed back to the US, especially because that part of the world, if my knowledge is serving me correctly, is kind of a volatile area. So most of those people wanting to get out are going to America to try and escape war. So yeah, it's a good one. Biden also terminated the construction of the widely controversial border wall at the US-Mexico southern border and will direct a review of the resources and funds that were redirected to build the wall. And look, that wall was a joke from the beginning. There's a video on the internet somewhere where people rebuilt just a portion of the wall, and had some professional rock climbers and their families give it a climb, and even like some 6-year-old children were able to climb it. So it wasn't as impenetrable as people might have thought. Plus its proposed plan went straight through the middle of some communities, would have gone through some people's houses, the whole thing was just a joke. Biden tackled the issues of housing discrimination and equity on Tuesday, issuing executive orders directing his administration to address racial bias in housing programs and terminate the government's use of private prisons. The president also recently reversed Trump's transgender ban in the military with an executive order stating that all Americans, regardless of gender identity, can serve in the military. Because yeah, what does gender identity have to do with being proud to serve your country? I think it's a great order to reverse. Let them back in. If you really care about your country's security, you'd want as many people in the military as possible. So telling some people they can't be in there is just restricting yourself on the number of people you can have. And then these same people would complain that, the army isn't big enough to protect them. Similarly, Biden also extended federal non-discrimination protections to members of the LGBTQ+ community. Every person should be treated with respect and dignity and should be able to live without fear, no matter who they are or whom they love. Biden wrote, COVID-19 safety measures. Upon assuming office, Biden began to roll out several COVID-19 safety measures and policy proposals. To date, the United States has seen over 400,000 deaths related to coronavirus. Biden's first measure as president was asking Americans to wear a mask for the first 100 days of his presidency as part of the 100 Days Masking Challenge. And look, for a lot of people, it wasn't really even a challenge. They were already doing it. But making it like a challenge and, you know, involving like the internet and social media and stuff in it, making it seem like it's just a fun challenge, like, oh yeah, no, wear a mask for 100 days. I mean, it's an inventive approach, I'll give him that. He also issued an executive order requiring masks and social distancing in all federal buildings and on federal lands. Federal employees and contractors are also required to wear masks. The order also calls on the Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC to work with state, local, tribal and territorial leaders to implement requirements for masking, social distancing and other safety measures. And additionally, Biden issued another executive order requiring masks on several modes of transportation, including planes, trains, buses and ferries. I would have loved to have automobiles there, but it would have just said taxis, I'm assuming. But basically all public transport, whether by air, rail, road or water. President also reversed another of Trump's decisions to withdraw from the World Health Organization, which is the only WHO that actually matters. These are actually Doctor Who's, or doctors work for who, or whatever. The administration also vowed to work with WHO on COVID-19 health and humanitarian response and advance global health and health security. A day after his assuming office, Biden issued an order calling for the improvement and expansion of access to healthcare and COVID-19 vaccines, which, look, vaccines are in and of themselves another fun thing to look at, because anti-vaxxers will try to tell you anything to justify them putting the rest of humanity at risk. To support the development of more treatments, the President is asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Director of the National Institutes of Health to craft a plan to support vaccine studies and research in rural areas. In another order, Biden called on the heads of all executive departments and agencies to gather, share and publish data on the virus. The President also extended federal support to governors using the National Guard to respond to the impacts of the pandemic. As the pandemic continues to disrupt the academic and professional lives of thousands of Americans, the President issued 2 executive orders to ease the transition from online to in-person learning and enforcing the protection of essential workers. The first order, which states the President's support for reopening schools, calls on the Secretary of Education to work with elementary and secondary schools on how to reopen and stay open. The order came as countries across the US are debating reopening schools and the possible implications of doing so. Basically, trying to help everyone get back to normal, which is a good thing. So yeah, he's been a busy boy, and we love to see it. He's already, between him reversing all of those Trump era bloody executive orders and Trump's impeachment, very soon Trump will basically have never even touched the presidency as far as legacy is concerned. Only by actual, like, historical dates will it be the case. And we love to see it. We love to see it. Does not directly affect me, but when international travel is allowed again, I'm now willing to go back to I'm now willing to go and visit the US again, because I wasn't. There were 4 years there where I wasn't going to. I was like, nope, nope. We don't support this at all. Yeah. So, but we're making some good headway. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and ring that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Again, the link to this is in the description below, or if you want to do your own research and see if there's any other ones, you can literally just search Joe Biden executive orders in Google, and you'll find a whole heap of different articles letting you know what it is that he's done. But this article will be in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are there certain executive orders that he's done that you don't agree with? Are there ones that you think he should have done? That it's good that he's done them, but you think he should have done more in those cases? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Happy to have a civil discussion with you. But if it, because politics, if it starts to get, a bit heated, I may disable the comments. So try to be nice to each other. And yeah, with all that being said and done, until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.